everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a Discord bot using C# and .NET. This video is based off of a series of articles I've created on my blog. Adding a bot to your server is an easy and fun way to add things like automation, user administration, AI, or just fun commands that are for your users. All the source code is going to be available on GitHub, and if you like videos like this, consider showing me that by clicking like or subscribing for more content. Now, let's get started building our Discord bot. Now, before we write any code, the very first thing we need to do is we need to tell Discord about our new application that we're building. So you can do that by opening up your browser and going to discord.com/developers/applications. And of course, log in there and you'll be at the screen that has all of your applications listed. On the top, I'm going to click on New Application and I'm going to give my app a name. I'm going to name it Mom. Hi, Mom. I'm going to agree to the terms, and we've just created our application there. To differentiate it, I want to give it a profile picture, so I'm going to drag one in here that I've already created, and I'll just hit Save Changes. Okay, now that's the bare minimum of things you actually need to do here. The next step is to bring this bot into your server, and you can do that by going over to your OAuth controls on the navigation menu. Now look for URL generator. And what we want to do here is we want to tell Discord that this is a bot. So we're going to give it that scope. And then down here, just for the sake of simplicity and to kind of mirror what I've done on my blog, I'm going to give it permission to do anything I want. Now, this is of course going to be up to you. If it's a private server with some friends, this is probably okay. But if this is something that you want to tightly control, of course, go through here and make sure you're giving it the right types of permissions. Now, at the very bottom, you're going to see a generated URL. All you need to do is click copy and bring this into a new tab. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to authorize this application to join our server. And we need to select which server we want. If you've got multiple, they'll be listed here. I'm going to bring it into this one, and I'm going to say continue. And now it's going to confirm, are you sure you want to bring one with those permissions in? And I'm going to say I authorize this. Okay, I'm going to verify this. I think I got it right. Great. Okay, so at this point, if we head over to our Discord, I should see we've got a new bot listed here. Now, it's not online yet because we haven't really written any code to do that, but Discord does know about the application. Next, in the Discord developer portal, we'll make a couple of changes to the settings to make sure that our bot receives the right events. Finally, we're going to copy the Discord security token somewhere safe and somewhere local. We're not going to commit this into version control. You don't want to do that because as soon as you do that, someone else could download your source code and kind of take control of your bot and kind of masquerade as it. So we don't want to do that. Back in the Discord developer portal, click on bot from the left-hand side navigation menu. Scroll down and you'll see a bunch of privileged gateway intents. You want to make sure that these are all turned on. So I'm going to check all of the boxes. Click Save Changes and then scroll back up. There's a button here that says Reset Token. We want to make sure that we're the only ones that has this token. So I'm going to reset it now, and I'm going to copy this token, and I'm just going to put it onto Notepad for right now. We're going to put it into our source code in a little while once we find the safe place for it. We've got everything we need now to get started. So let's head into Visual Studio and look at the code. On my blog, I created 3 separate articles about creating this Discord bot. In the first part, I create the Visual Studio solution and project, and it really just leave a hello world console application. I also go into the Discord developer portal and set up what we just did. So we can kind of skip over part 1 right now and jump right into part 2. So what I've done is I've opened up the solution inside part 2, and I've got that inside my Visual Studio right here. When we're opening this up, you'll see just a couple of classes, an interface for iBot and a commands folder. This application starts with the program.cs, so let's start there. The first thing you'll notice is that our main is calling another main. It's actually calling main async because our bot is an asynchronous thing, and it's going to need to be able to call things like await a command. So I've wrapped up our main with a main async, passed in our arguments, and just kind of say give me the awaiter, get the result of this, which is kind of saying like, wait for me. Now, as we go into main async, the first thing you'll see is that we're setting up some configuration and a service provider variable. That's on line 16 and line 20. The configuration sources all of the settings for our application, and we're using something called user secrets. And this is a great way to store things like a security token and have them available to your application, but not be committed into source control. We'll see how this works in a second. The next thing that happens is we're going to set up a service collection, which is a dependency injection container. And we're saying all of the things that our bot can do and maybe the services that it can work with, we put into this service collection. And when we need a class, we go to this dependency injection container and we say, hey, we need this, and it will go and resolve all of our dependencies for us. So all we've got right now in there is that we've got our iBot interface, which is registered to the bot class. We've put in our configuration that we built previously as an iConfiguration. And then right below in our try catch, what we're saying is, give me an instance of iBot and start it up. So this is going to go into the dependency injection container and give me a bot class, but if that bot class also has dependencies, they'll be resolved using the DI container. Then all that happens is we kind of go into this infinite loop where we're saying, if you press the Q key on your keyboard, we'll close the terminal and we'll stop that bot. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening inside the iBot interface. This one's really simple. We just really have a Discord bot that's able to start and it can stop. And the thing to note here is that when we start it, we're giving it that service provider, which is all of our dependencies. And if we go over to the bot class, which is the implementation of the iBot interface, we'll see a lot of code here. So this is where the logic for our bot lives. So we've got instance variables for our service provider. We've got a logger, which allows us to debug things. We've got our configuration that we built, which is the user secrets. And then we've got things coming in from the Discord library that we're using, which is discord.net. We've got our client, which can speak Discord. And then we've got our command service, which we'll talk about in a minute, but these are going to be commands that we build and gives it functionality. So when our bot controller starts up here, we are saying, hey, dependency injection, we need an iLogger and I need an iConfiguration. And because we're saying we're going to get that instance from our dependency injection, those ones will come too. So those are automatically resolved to instances of those interfaces. Then our bot will start its lifecycle by calling the start async method. And what we're doing here is we're going to read in our Discord token from configuration. It's going to be a variable named Discord token. And if we don't have it, we're going to throw an exception because there's no way we can actually start up and connect to Discord without that token. I'm going to use the logger to kind of print out what's happening here so we always know what's going on. We can debug easily. And then what's going to happen is we're going to build our command service, which is going to look inside the current assembly and build out all of the commands that are available. We can just kind of take a preview of what we got right now. I've built one command, which is an echo. And if you type echo something into your channel, it will just spit it right back at you from the bot. It's kind of like the smallest possible thing we could build, equivalent to a hello world in terms of Discord bots. Then after we've got our commands built, we're going to log into Discord and the client will start. And we're going to then say, hey, every time we receive a message, call this method here. This is going to be our command handler. And that's going to be down below. Our stop method is pretty simple. If we press Q on the keyboard, we're going to say we're shutting down. And then if that client is connected, we're going to log out and we're going to stop it. So really the bulk of what's going on here is happening in our start and in our handle command async method. So every time something happens on your server, like somebody says something or someone reacts to something, this method will be called. So what we want to do is, first off, we want to discard all of the messages from the bots themselves, because we really only want to act on when a human does something. And especially we don't want to get into this infinite loop where the bot says something and then it receives that same message and it just kind of keeps going back and forth with it. So we're going to just throw away those and return from our method if it is a bot. Then we're going to print it out to the console just so we have, again, debug of what's going on. And now here's the trick that I've implemented here, where all of my commands are going to start with an exclamation point, which is a little bit different than the built-in commands, which start with a slash. So what we need to do is we need to look at our message to say, does it start with an exclamation point? And if it does, that message is a command. And then we're going to go to our command service and execute that command if we've got one that matches. And notice here that we're going to be passing in the service provider. So that enables all of these commands to then read in things from our dependency injection. So if we're doing something like we've got an HTTP client, or we've got a service that's going to reach into a database, we put all of those dependencies into our DI container, and all of our commands can take advantage of them the same way. And we don't have really weird kind of constructors or really hard to test classes somewhere. So how does it know what command to execute? Because we're just saying, here's one, it started with an exclamation point. If we take a look at the echo command, we'll see that it's got a couple of attributes on it here. So we're saying that this one is a command and it's looking for echo. So that means that if somebody types in exclamation point echo hello, it's going to know that this command here is looking for echo. Next, it's going to use this as its phrase in the execute async, which is going to be a string phrase. And this is the remainder of the command. So everything after the command trigger. And what it's going to do is it's going to make sure that we have a phrase, not null or empty, and then we're going to reply back into the channel with the echoed phrase. And if something goes wrong, like we don't have a phrase, it's just going to give us what the syntax is for that specific command. So that's a good overview of how the code works up into part 2 of the code available on GitHub. If you have any questions about how to get started using it, or maybe how to extend it, you can write to me on GitHub, open an issue, and I'll help you out as best I can. Let's try running what we have so far. If I set a breakpoint down on line 34 on the bot start async method, this will give us a good checkpoint where we can see what's going on with the bot to make sure that it is, operating as it should. So there's my breakpoint hitting, and I'm about to step over this. And you'll notice here, we've got an exception, missing Discord token. So we've told it that we're going to get our Discord token from user secrets, but we haven't really done anything with that. All we've done is we've copied it to Notepad. So let's click on stop and go over to Notepad. I'm going to copy this. What we want to do is we want to put this value into user secrets so our application can use it. To do that, you want to, in your Solution Explorer, right click on the project, not the solution. So I'm going to right click on Discord bot, and halfway down, click on Manage User Secrets. If this is the first time you're doing this, it may ask you to install a package for this. But what we've got here is secrets.json. And if we hover over that tab, you'll notice that the directory for this file is somewhere other than where the rest of our code is. We're somewhere inside app data, roaming, and we've got this great long GUID there. So this is a great way where we can put our secrets like passwords or connection strings or Discord tokens, and then Visual Studio will then reference that file for us. But how does it know, right? So if we take a look at our project file, we've got a variable called user secrets ID, which is a big long GUID and it ends in 6BA. And you'll notice here that that is the same GUID that is in our path here. So this secrets file will be referenced and we can put all of our sensitive data in here. Now, we looked at putting this token into a variable called Discord token earlier. So I'm going to use that exact same name, and just remember that this is a JSON file. So, the syntax for it is going to be just plain JSON. So I'm going to create a string here called Discord token, and I'm going to set that equal to the value that we got from the Discord developer portal. So I'm just going to paste that in here. Great. So I'm going to save my secrets.json. We can close this off now. And I'm going to go back over to program, and I'm going to let this exact same breakpoint hit, and we'll see what the difference is now. Okay, now I'm going to step over one more time. Everything's good so far. And in fact, if we just let this continue and head over to Discord, we should see that our bot is now online. On the right-hand side, I can see our mom bot is showing a green symbol. So everything we've done so far has been correct. We've got our Discord bot there, and we've got an echo command that is available to us. So in your terminal, you can press Q, and it will shut down our bot, or we could click stop in Visual Studio as well. At this point, you should have a bot that can join your server and even execute the echo command. If you're finding this video useful or interesting, make sure you let me know by clicking the like button. Next, we're going to jump into part 3 that's available on GitHub. So switch to the third solution and we can follow along together. In part 3, I add a new command that adds a little bit more fun to your Discord server. I'm using the Urban Dictionary API to look up any kind of phrase, and they're pretty funny when you get the right one. So if you take a look on your commands folder here, you'll notice that in part 3, I've got a second folder called Urban Dictionary. Inside here, I've got Urban Dictionary command. So in order to execute this one, we've got UD as our command attribute, and we're going to use the remainder of the command as our phrase. And you'll notice in the constructor, before we get too far, we've got a HTTP client. So we're going to be making an HTTP request to the api.urbandictionary.com, and we're going to look for this phrase that we give. And in order to work with this API, we do need to specify a user agent. So I've just put in something called Discord bot there, and you could really put whatever you want. How this works is we got to make sure that we do search for something. So if we don't have a phrase, we're just going to reject it and return that back to the channel. But otherwise, what we're going to do is we're going to then get our response and we're going to deserialize this into some objects. So what we'll get here is a instance of Urban Dictionary response, which has a bunch of lists or a list of definitions, and inside each one of this is a string that we're going to pull out and we're going to put that into our channel. You could extend this to do maybe like a more fancy embed, but for right now, I'm just going to use the reply async. So you can see the magic here is happening on line 46, where we say you're going to use the JSON serializer to deserialize, and then we just want to make sure that we do get one result from there, and then we're going to paste that back into the channel. So let's take a look at how this one works to just make sure that we fully understand it. So I'm going to start up my Discord bot here. And again, it's going to read our token from user secrets and become ready to go and join our channel. So I'm going to head over to Discord, and we should see our bot within a couple seconds here joining, and we're going to try out this command. There we go, we're online. So again, it was UD, so I'm going to search for coder and see what happens. The low end of the scale as far as software engineers go. Kind of a burn, but we know it's working, right? So there we go. So that's how to do something with a remote API using the HTTP client. So if you wanted to do something like ChatGPT, it's going to be very similar to this. You just need to change up the responses that we're deserializing into, change out your endpoints. But this pattern of using HTTP client inside of your commands is going to be exactly the same. So kind of the sky's the limit with all the things you can kind of think up for your Discord channel. Have fun with it. That's it for our video on how to create a Discord bot using C# and .NET. In this video, we took a look at how to create one from scratch using the Discord developer portal, how to use user secrets to store our Discord tokens safely, and how to build simple and then advanced commands that use HTTP client. If you found this useful, had fun doing it, make sure you hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. Thanks again.